So you're using Wix and you want to add a mega menu being a very large menu that will open up when you hover on one of the menu items and display a more sophisticated type of menu. Welcome back to the Wix Wiz. I'm Eitan, and today we're going to be talking all about mega menus. So from the basics of how to add them in both Wix Classic and Wix Studio, and how to set up a mega menu that is connected to data and specifically your Wix stores. So for example, this mega menu I set up over here connects to different products that belong to this shoes category, and you can navigate to those different products through the mega menu. We're going to be doing that both in Wix Studio using code and in Wix Classic using no code at all. So just using datasets to set up something like this. If you're interested about learning all of that, let's hop in. Adding a mega menu or customizable menu in Wix is super simple. I'm going to start out here in the Wix Studio editor where we're going to be doing most of the demo, and then I'll hop over briefly to show you how to add in a mega menu if you're using the Wix editor or the Wix Classic editor. So when you start Studio up with a blank website, you will already have a menu up here on the upper right. You can always also add in more menu elements by going to Add Elements and then looking here for Menu and Search. Okay, so you can add in any of these menus at any time and add the mega menu I'm about to demonstrate to them as well. So let's start with the menu that has been pre-added when we started up the site. So once I select the menu, we're going to have a panel here, which we can use in order to adjust the menu setting and layout. And I'm going to click Manage Menu. Once I do that, I have the option to add in items. And if I click Add in Item, you'll see that the last item here that I can add in is a mega menu. Once I click on that, it'll add in the mega menu with a default title of mega menu, and I can change this to be whatever I want later on. Once you've added in the mega menu, you can go ahead and click Edit, and then you'll see that Wix adds in a section here or a strip which you can edit and use as your mega menu. So this would be a good time to explain what a mega menu is if you're still wondering. A mega menu is essentially a very large menu which can take more customizable elements than a typical menu, which would just be different text links. So inside of this mega menu, we can add things like images. So if I go over here to media, I can go and add an image here to this mega menu. And this is essentially a panel that will open up when I hover over my new mega menu item inside of the menu. We can also use the mega menu to have more complex menu structures that might be dependent on data, and that's what we're going to be demoing later on. Inside the Wix editor or Wix Classic editor, the process is quite similar. The difference is that once we start up a brand new site, we don't have a default menu in here. If you were using a template or something like that, then you might already have a menu. But if not, we're going to have to go ahead and drag in a menu ourselves. And you can find those again in the Elements panel. So that's Menu and Anchor. And then here you have a bunch of different menus that you can add in. I'm just going to add in this very default plain menu. And once we have added in the menu, we have the option to go over here and manage menu. The thing is that out of the box, that is going to open up our panel here on the side of the site pages and menu. And essentially by default, the Wix Classic menu reflects the actual pages that we have on our site. Luckily, we also have the option to turn this into an advanced menu. So we can go over here into settings by clicking this cog right over here, and then we can set this menu as advanced. Once Wix makes sure that we're not doing something we don't want to be doing, we can confirm that we want to set this as advanced, and then essentially it transforms into the same sort of menu that we saw within Wix Studio. This can be useful even if you're not necessarily creating a mega menu, but you want to tap into some of the more advanced features that Wix Studio allows with its menus. So here now we can go again and add in menu items, and we have the option to add in the mega menu. And once we go ahead and let's say change this name to mega menu, we can go ahead and click done. And once I select the mega menu, it will also, once I click over here on edit, it will also open up the container that we had inside of Wix Studio, and the same principles apply. So we can go ahead and add in elements, and for example, we can add in more advanced things like images and video. So if I go over here and find images, let's see. I see video and music. If you see images, shout at the screen right over here, up on top, image. And I can go ahead and drag in, let's say, an image like that. And obviously it will need some adjustments to look good, but we can go ahead and drag that in there. Let's take a look and see what these mega menus actually look like once they go live. So I'm going to go over here into preview mode. And then you'll see here that once I hover over this mega menu, it opens up this container over here with the image. Since I haven't added any kind of border or anything like that, it's a little hard to tell where the mega menu, where the real menu ends, the mega menu starts, and the page starts, but these are all things that can be fixed up with some light design work. Now that we understand the basics of how to add in a mega menu and add different elements to that mega menu, I want to take a step further and try and do a slightly more complex implementation that will be based on data. And not any data, but specifically data from our Wix stores. So we're going to try and build a mega menu which will show the user many different store items or different products that they can navigate to when they hover over a certain category inside of the overhead menu. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. There are really endless permutations of what you can do with a mega menu, so I understand that this demonstration might not fit your use case exactly, but hopefully the principles that we introduce here will send you in the right direction when you're trying to design your own mega menu. For the purposes of this demo, I went ahead and I installed the Wix Stores app, which you can install for free from the Wix App Market. And it's added the different pages that are added out of the box. So we have the category page, cart page, product page, etc. Okay, so these product pages are what we're going to try and get people to navigate to directly from our menu. So this product page that's loading up over here. And the first step that we're going to do is I want to set up a few different categories in my store. In order to do that, I'm going to head over to my site's dashboard. And I'm going to go over here to where it says catalog. And then I'm going to go here to store products and to categories. I'm just using the default product that Wix adds out of the box with the Wix Stores app. So you can see we have one default category over here, which is all products. And let me go ahead and add in another category here. And I'm just going to call this, for example, let's say shoes. And I'm going to add in a category image because I want to display this image inside of the mega menu. Okay, so that's another cool feature that we're going to add in. And I'm just going to go over here to media from Wix. And let me see if I can find some shoes here. Okay, so I'm going to grab this shoes image right over here. So that's going to be one category. And let me just add in a few products. I don't know if I actually have any shoes here in the store. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in these three products right over here. I'm going to go ahead and add those in. And I'm going to go and click Save. Next, I'm going to go and add in another category, and let's call this one hats. And I'm going to go to category image, and I'm going to look for a hats image in media from Wix. Let's look for hats. Search. There we go. We have a hat, and I'm going to add that in. Let me add in a few products. I think we might actually have a hat here somewhere. Yeah, so we have one hat here. In addition, I'll just add in a few other products. So I'll add in this chair and this lotion or whatever it is. And so we have these three products, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Awesome. So now we have three different categories. And the next thing we're going to want to do is display these categories inside of our top level menu. Back in the Wix Studio editor, I'm going to now add a new mega menu that we're going to use for one of our categories. So back over here, I'm going to select Menu and Manage Menu, and I'm going to add in an item. That item is going to be a mega menu, and I'm going to call this one after one of our categories. So this is going to be Shoes. Then I'm going to go inside and edit this mega menu. And in order to display multiple items that we're getting from a data collection. So essentially, the Wix Stores app has different collections for managing categories and products and stuff like that. And we're going to be tapping into that in order to display the products from a specific category. If we want to do this with no code, we're going to try to connect a repeater, so a repeating element, via a data set. So let's go ahead and try and add in a repeater. So to do that, I'm going to go and add in Elements, Layout Tools, and I'm going to drag in one of these repeaters. And in order to connect it to a data set, typically what we would do is go to this squiggly line over here, this one that seems grayed out, and connect it to a data set. For those of you with good eyes, you may be able to see that it says here that you cannot connect an element in a global section to a data set or to the CMS. This is going to be a little bit of an issue for us. A global section is any section that can appear on multiple sections of your site. So that would include the header, which we're in right now, and menus and things like that. So this means that in order to implement what I wanted to do inside of Wix Studio at the moment, you would need to use Velo code. That said, if I hop over into our classic editor, so you can see I've done the same thing here. So we have a mega menu and I've added in a repeater. And here, luckily, it seems like you can connect to the CMS via a dataset. So what I'm going to do in order to get the best of both worlds, because I don't know if you're using the classic editor or Wix Studio, or if Wix Studio in the future may enable datasets for global sections. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to demonstrate how to do this with datasets inside of the classic editor. Afterwards, we will hop over to Wix Studio and do it with Velo code, which you can also, if you want, implement inside of Wix Classic. There's nothing that will restrict you. The coding environment is the same inside of both of the editors. The first thing I'm going to connect is this image that we have over here. As I said, we're going to want to have this display the image of the category that we set in the dashboard. So in order to do that, I'm going to click right over here where it says Connect to CMS after selecting the image, and I'm going to add in a data set right over here. After I click that, I'm going to choose the collection that we want the data set to point to, and we want to have it point to this collections data set right over this collections collection. There's a slight confusion inside of Wix stores because the word collection and the word category are used interchangeably. So categories are collections and collections are collections, but Wix CMS also has collections which are databases. So don't get too confused, and you can rewind and watch that explanation a few times until it sinks in. But I'm going to select the collections over here inside of Wix stores, and I'm going to click Create to add in that data set. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to filter our data set so that it's showing the collection of this mega menu, which is going to be our shoes. So I'm going to go over here to the dataset settings, and I'm going to scroll all the way down over here until I see the filter section, and I'm going to click in Add Filter. Once I do that, I'm going to select, it'll be selected by default, the name of this collection is, and I'm going to enter a value here, which is shoes. So this means that it's going to filter down our data set to show specifically the category or collection from Wix stores, which is named shoes. Now that I've done that, we can go ahead and actually connect the image. So I'm going to click here back to image element, and I'm going to select that the image source is connected to main media. After doing that, it should change this to show our shoes, at least on the live site. We can also connect alt text, tooltip, and other things, but I'm not going to do that right now. So let me go ahead and close this right over here. And I'm going to click test site right over here. You can choose if you want to deploy a test site or go into preview mode. I personally tend to like using test site, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And once that is ready, it should open up in a new tab. And now let's hover over the shoes. And you can see here that it's showing the shoes image from our shoes category that we set inside of the dashboard. I know we're in the Wix Classic website. I did everything that we did in the Wix Studio website, also in Wix Classic in terms of the Wix stores setup. So there we go. We have these shoes. You might be asking yourself, why should I make this dynamic with a data set? Why don't I just put this image of the shoes there inside of the mega menu? And my answer would be that this allows you essentially to change the main image of the category in the dashboard and know that it will automatically update on your site without needing to go and make things align or anything like that. So you have one central point where you're managing your categories, and you can you can rest, you can sleep well at night knowing that these will automatically update. Okay, so there we go with that. And we can also, if we wanted, we could connect this and link it directly to the page for this category, so the shoes category page. But I'll be showing you how to do that once we connect the actual product, so you should be pretty familiar with that in a moment. Next up, we're going to want to display the different products that belong to this Wix stores category or collection. That's why we have this repeater over here. I've also taken the liberty of adding in a text element into our repeater to display the name of the specific product. For our products, we're also going to be using a data set. So let's go ahead and connect this repeater to data by clicking connect to CMS. And we're going to choose a data set, but not the data set that we already created, but rather a new data set, which is connected not to the collections, but to our products. So let me go ahead and select that, and I'm going to click Create. This data set we need to filter as well, and we want to make sure that this is only displaying products from a specific category. So in order to do that, we are going to go here to our dataset settings and go down to filters, add in a filter, and we're going to want to say that the collection, okay, of this specific product should include another data set, and it should include the only other data set that we have, which is the data set that points to a specific collection. So if I go ahead and add this filter, it should filter down this data set to only include the 3 products that we added in to our shoes category. Okay, I know this can be a little complex in terms of the logic, but it makes sense if you if you think about it a lot, and you might need to watch it a few times, but this is a typical way of filtering a data set based on another data set. So now that we've made that connection, I'm just going to go ahead and connect also our text. So I'm going to go ahead and connect each text element, and I'm going to say that it should point to the name of the product. So let's go over here, and I'm going to add in name. If you wanted to, you could even also add in, a small image that would that would display beside each product. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add in a small button. So let me go ahead and add in a button. This is a little bit of I guess you can call it a workaround, because when we're using no-code solutions, we can only link specific elements to a page using a data set. So one of those elements is a button, another one is an image. So if you wanted to clean this up a little bit so that you did not have, also text and also a button, you could style a button just to look like text and only have the buttons instead of having also text and also buttons. Okay, it's really up to you how you want to design it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have these buttons say like view, let's say, like view the product. And I'm going to connect it also to our products data set. And I'm going to say that the click action should go to the product page URL. So it'll essentially navigate to that specific product. Note that you also have other options here like add to cart, which could be really cool. You can allow people to add something to cart just from your mega menu. I don't know if somebody would do that just based on the name of a product, but it's an option. And you also have the option to open up quick view. Okay, so all that stuff that you can do just using this button. So I'm going to link up those buttons just like that. And for some reason, it changed the label here back to button. Let's see if we can fix that. So I'm just going to go and change this to view, and we should be good. Okay, so let's see what this looks like on our live site, or at least our test site. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this as a test site. And now if I hover over shoes, so you'll see we have the picture from the category, and we have 3 products here. Unfortunately, they're all named the same thing. A product, that's just the default products that Wix adds in out of the box. But if we click the view button, we can see that it's actually taking us to different unique products. So here we have the first product. And remember, this is a mega menu, so it appears on all of our pages. So I can just easily here go and click view, and it takes us to a different product. And this is the third product that we added into the shoes category. Very creative looking shoes. So that is how I would approach this task or this solution using Wix Classic and Datasets. Again, just to recap what we did, so we added a mega menu. We called that mega menu a certain category or collection from Wix stores. We linked up an image and to the products of that specific category, all just using datasets. And if we wanted, we could easily replicate this for other categories as well by just adding additional mega menus up here on top. This might not be the optimal solution for you if you have a ton of different categories that you want to display. You may choose to instead have one mega menu that has the categories inside of the mega menu, and then that would furthermore filter down later on. As I said before, the options are really endless, so I hope that this gave you a little bit taste of what's possible with no code inside of mega menus. And now we're going to hop back to Wix Studio and show how we can implement this with code. Back here inside of Wix Studio, we're going to implement the same thing using code. I took the liberty of making a similar setup to what we had just now inside of Wix Classic. And what I'm going to do is first thing, I'm going to go ahead and turn on code mode over here on the side. Once I do that, I should have the IDE open up over here as well as this additional code panel. And this is where we would typically write code. Since we're writing code that's going to be relevant to our menu or a global section, essentially, we're going to want to do that on the master page. If you can't find the master page, then you can go over here to the code panel and look over here at the page code. And under all of your existing pages, you should see this master page.js. This is where we're going to write code that pertains to our specific to menus and other global elements. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get the data of the specific category or collection that we're looking at inside of the mega menu. Initially, I'm going to assume that we're doing this just for one mega menu, and then later on we can talk about how we can possibly make this more scalable so that it can apply to multiple different categories. So in order to get the data from our collection or our categories collection, we're going to be using something called Wix data. So I'm going to go ahead and import Wix data. And since I have tutorials that address a lot of the things I'm going to be demonstrating in a more in-depth way, for example, I have tutorials all about Wix data and Wix data queries. I have tutorials about repeaters and how to populate them with code. So I'm going to make an assumption that you have that basic knowledge already. If you don't, and you're not managing to follow along with the demonstration, you feel free to pause the video and watch the more fundamental videos before continuing with this. So I went ahead and imported Wix data. And the next thing I'm going to do is create a function. So let's create an async function. And I will call this get menu collection data. Okay, let's call it like that. Menu collection, collection or category, Wix store category. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a parameter here. And that parameter will be the name of the collection. Okay, so name. And now we're going to run a query. So I'm going to say const query result equals to await Wix data dot query. And now we need to find the ID of the collection we're going to be querying. So let me go over here to code, and I'm going to go to databases, and I'm going to go down here to the Wix app collection databases, and specifically the stores collection. And then here I can see the collections collection. Again, a bit of a tongue twister, and I'm going to copy that collection ID and go back over here to our code IDE and just paste that right over there. Next, I'm going to call .find. But before we do .find, we're going to want to make sure that the name that we pass over here as a parameter is equal to the name of the items that we get back in our query, because we want to find that specific collection. So in order to do that, we're going to have to use an equals filter on our query. And now we need to figure out which field specifically we're going to apply this filter to. So if we go again back to our databases, stores, collections, and we open it up, we can see a list of the different fields over here, and one of them is name. And I can copy this field ID as well, and just put it right over here inside of the equals. Then I can use our parameter from the function to say that that is the name that we want to be equal to the name field. Once we've got back our query result, what we can do is we can return the query result dot items and 0. I'm essentially getting the first item that comes back, and the assumption here is that there's only going to be one item that comes back with a name that matches the name that we pass in. Now that we have a function that will get our collection data, we can build another function which is going to populate the image over here with the image from the collection. So in order to do that, I'm going to first grab the image that we have over here, and I'm going to give it a unique ID. So let's call it main media. I'm doing that because that is the naming of that image inside of the collections collection, and I like when things line up like that. So I'm going to go back over here and create another function, so async function, and I'll call this populate main media. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also have, let's say, the name of a collection here. And then I'm going to say const collection equals to await get menu collection data and pass in the name. And then once we get the collection, I'm going to say that the main media element dot source should be equal to the collection dot main media. And I know that this field is called main media because if we go over here to code, databases, stores, collections, you can see here that that is called main media. Okay, that's the field ID. If you're not sure, you can always just copy the field ID and use that inside of your code. So that should deal with this image right over here. And now we're going to need to build some additional functions for our repeater. So let's go ahead and create another function over here. Before I do that, I'm just going to do some naming. So let's call this our products repeater. And this is going to be the product name, just like that. And the IDs for all the other ones are the same because it's a repeater. So if I name the first one, all the other ones are also named the same ID. And now we can go over here and I'm going to create a new function, async function, populate products repeater, just like that. And in order to do that, we're going to need to get the products that belong to this specific collection. So let's go ahead and create another function before we actually populate the products repeater. And I'll call this function async function. And I'll call this get collection products data. Okay? And in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to pass in the name over here. And we could use this get menu collections data function again. There's a slight lack of optimization here because we're running this query twice, but let's look later into how we can possibly optimize that after we have everything set up. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to get the collection using this same line of code that we have over here. And once we have the collection, we're going to want to run another query, which will get the products which belong to that specific collection. So let me say here const query result equals to await Wix data dot query. And this time we're going to be querying the products collection. So let's go over here to, back to our databases, stores, and this time we're going to be doing this collection over here, the products collection. So let me go ahead and grab that ID right over there, and I'm going to put it over here inside of our query. Then again, we're going to have find, but we're going to need a filter as well. So we need to find products that belong to a specific category or collection. So let me go over here and explore the stores products options over here. Let's see. Okay, so here I see that we have a multi-reference field. Okay, multi-reference, which points to the different collections that a product belongs to. Okay, so since it's a multi-reference field, I should be able to use has some and the ID of the specific collection in order to find products which are included in that collection. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to, whoops, let me grab the ID. I forgot to grab the ID of that field. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab it right over here. And I'm going to add a new filter into our stores products collection query. So I'm going to say dot has some, and I'm going to say that we're looking at the collections field, and I'm going to say it's the collection dot ID. So the ID of the collection that has this specific name. Okay, now that we've done that, we have all the products that belong to this specific collection. And what we can do is we can return query result dot items. Here we're going to have more than one item, so I'm just returning all the items. Note that queries have certain item limits, so if I'm not mistaken, the default is, I always get confused if it's 50 or 100, and you can raise that limit to a certain extent, but just have that in mind when you're building this. So if you have less than 50 products in the collection, you're in the clear. If you have more, then you might need to do a little more engineering here. After we get all of the products data, I'm going to use that function we just built over here. So I'm going to say const products data equals to await get collection products data. And again, I'm going to pass in the name over here. And then this will also take name as a parameter. So essentially, I'm building this with scalability in mind so that once you have a collection name, you can run all these functions with that name and it should get the data that is particular to that name. Okay, that's why I'm building it in this way. Once we have the products data, what we can do is we can essentially assign that data to our products repeater. Products repeater dot data equals to products data. In order for this to work, we're going to need to tell our repeater how to behave once it gets new data. And we're going to have to do that before we actually assign the data. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the onItemReady for our repeater. So products repeater dot onItemReady item and item data. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that the product name, again here, this is a mistake that I always make, but now this time I caught myself. This should be item and not $W. So because it needs to apply this to all the items in the repeater. And I'll say dot text should be equal to the item data dot. And here we need to figure out what the product name is called inside of the products collection. So let's go ahead and look at our databases and stores, products, and we can see that there's a name field here. So I'm going to guess that that's the product name. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go over here and say that it should be equal to item data.name. In addition, we want to also set up the linking to the specific product pages. And here, since we're using code, we can actually link the text element instead of having to add in like buttons or images or something like that. We could also add the link to the container of that item in the repeater. But let's just do it for the text element for now. So I'm going to select again product name. And I'm going to say that .onClick, we're going to navigate to a specific page. For this navigation, we're going to use something called Wix location. So I'm going to go ahead over here and import Wix location frontend. And once we've done that, I'm going to go back over here into our onClick. I'm going to say Wix location frontend .to, and here we're going to need to put the URL that we want them to navigate to. So it's going to depend on which item they're clicking on, so that we know we're tapping in here to item data. But what comes next? Let's go ahead and try and figure that out from our databases. So I'm going to go over here to stores and product, and let's see if we have like a slug or something like that over here. So here we have a slug, which may possibly be what we want. Let's see if we have anything else here that can indicate where we should be navigating to. So I'm a little concerned about this slug because I'm not sure it'll have the entire URL. So let me actually go ahead and open up this collection to take a deeper look. So here we have all the products, essentially, all the product data. And let's see. So this is a visualization of the collections that we were using before. So you can see here that this shows which collections a product belongs to. And essentially what these are just IDs. So it's just like, I know it looks like there's like a kind of a chip here or something like that, but it's actually like in the data, actually, it's just an ID of a specific product. Of a specific collection, sorry. Let's see, so slug is just I am a product, so we wouldn't be able to use that for navigation. Let's see if we have something else here. Awesome, so this is what I was looking for, product page URL. And if I go over here and I click edit, it'll give me the field ID for that product page URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and head back into the code and say that this should be item data.product page URL. Awesome. So now that we have all of our functions set up, I'm going to create one more function up here on top. and I'm going to call this async function setup mega menu. And I'm going to add in name. And then here I'm going to call our two functions. So I'm going to say await populate main media name. And I'm going to say await populate products repeater name. And once we have that in place, I'm going to call this function up here inside of the onReady. So I'm going to say here setup mega menu. And here we're going to pass in the name of our category. So I'm just going to call it with shoes. Okay, because that's the name of the category. So we did a lot of coding, and now we're ready for some testing, and it may work and there may be bugs. So let's go ahead and try opening this up inside of a test site. So I'm going to go ahead and preview as test site, create test site. And once the test site opens up, we'll head over and try and see if our mega menu is actually working. So let's hover over shoes. And there we go. Okay, so you see here that we have the image from our shoes collection, okay, for the main media. And we have the three products, which are all named the same thing. So it's a little confusing, I know, but it's only three products. And if I click on one of these products, so you see that it goes to that specific product page. And we can do it again and again. And you see it's working essentially in a very similar way to the one that we set up using the no-code databases inside of Wix Classic. In terms of scalability, what I'm hoping we could do is we can just go to this mega menu that we already built and click duplicate. Once we do that, I'm just going to edit this, and you can see here that essentially it duplicated the mega menu that we already set up. One thing that is not so great is that the IDs were not duplicated. So you'll see here that each one of these has kind of a unique ID that came up. Let's see if we can go ahead and give it the same ID that we gave to our other main media. So I'm going to go over here and try and change this ID also to main media. And here, you'll see that we have a little bit of an issue because it says the ID has to be unique. So essentially, because all of our mega menus belong to the same global section, belong to global sections in general, so each of them has to be unique. Okay, so that means that this main media has to have a different name from the other main medias. So that means that we would need to make some adjustments to our functions so that things like this main media over here would be unique. One approach that we can take to that is, for example, naming this one, naming the items using the collection name. So we could go ahead and call this, let's say, main media shoes or main media hats. And then over here, inside of when we're attributing, let's say, the source over here, or even here when we're attributing the text to the product names, etc., we can turn this into a template literal. So something like this. And then make this product name dependent on the name of the collection as well. Okay, so that could be one approach for making this a little more scalable. Another approach could be to use numbers instead and then have a directory between different collections and different numbers. But in the end of the day, you should get to a situation where you can just call this setup mega menu and pass in the name of the collection, and it will set up all of your mega menus for your different categories. So I would give this in terms of, like, if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of scalability, maybe I would rate it about a 6, just to be nice. I mean, there are definitely things that could make this more streamlined, if we had a little more access possibly to the relationship between the drop-down container and the name of the selected mega menu. So like if we had established that relationship, then we could make this even a little more scalable, but I think this is about as scalable as we can get with the tools that we've been given. And if you don't have too many categories, it shouldn't be too bad. If you have a lot of categories, you may want to think of another approach. And again, this was really just like a demo example of a possibility. So I imagine that your use case is slightly different. You may, instead of using products from the store, you may just be using your own CMS collection. You may be using Wix bookings or Wix pricing plans or some other kind of mega menu setup. You may not be using data at all, but I just wanted to give you a taste of what's possible in addition to the basics of how to set up a mega menu. We're going to wrap up here. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you loved it but still have some questions, suggestions, or just want to say hi, then you can go ahead and do that in the comments below. And I recommend not forgetting to also subscribe to the channel. We have new videos coming out every week about a wide variety of topics in Wix. So using things like Wix data, connecting to datasets, Wix ecom, and also different updates that come out inside of the Wix ecosystem. So if you don't want to miss out on those, you can find the subscribe button below, and I'll see you next time. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. This tutorial may be over, but that doesn't mean that your journey has to end here. YouTube will have some recommendations up above in a moment for more videos, but don't get too distracted because my eyes are over here, and on the WixWiz website we have a lot more resources for you to continue learning or get support for your business or project. We've got a blog, beginner courses, and a community forum where you can vent about Velo or post some tough questions like, why does my header have a mind of its own? On the website, you can also find my personal calendar to schedule a one-on-one and details about getting ongoing assistance from our team of Wix experts. I'll catch you later, and don't forget that every big feature was once a small bug.